So I know y'all did y'all homework. So let's get into part two. So when I left you guys, Lorenzen and Cheryl were building their family, having beautiful babies, and they were doing really well their first year of marriage. You know, they had a lot of good times according to their friends and families, and they were spending some money too because they had a lot of good money coming in, and just as much as it was coming in, it was going out. He loved cars and antique cars. So he was spending his money on that. She loved jewelry and expensive gifts. And they had it, so they spent it. Their marriage continued, and obviously when you're a basketball player, you have to go out of town for basketball games and go to different appearances. But Lorenzen wasn't just doing that. He was also sleeping with other women in different cities. And Cheryl found out about this, and this obviously caused a lot of stress on their marriage. And he was not the only one being unfaithful. She was as well. He told one of his friends he actually caught Cheryl cheating in their home. And it just became very toxic, very complicated. And as time went on, they just couldn't do it. And Cheryl definitely couldn't because she filed for divorce. And Lorenzen didn't fight it. He didn't dispute the divorce. And they decided to just co-parent. After the divorce was final, Lorenzen was done with his career in the NBA, and he decided to lay roots in Atlanta just for a new start, for something new. And Cheryl and the kids were still in Memphis, and so he would go back and forth from Atlanta to Memphis so he could make sure he could co-parent and see his children as often as possible. So their co-parenting relationship was going really well, so well that they became cuddy buddies. Okay, they were still sleeping with one another, and a lot of his friends and family said that Lorenzen was still in love with her and Cheryl was still in love with him. And actually, he proposed to Cheryl again in front of his children while they were still divorced. However, nothing became solidified between them. We just know that they were sleeping together and that he wanted to marry her again. Lorenz planned a trip to go back to Memphis in July of 2010. His daughter had a recital and his sister had a baby shower that weekend. The friend that he stayed with in Atlanta drove him to the airport. And he said when he drove him to the airport, Lorenzen seemed very unsettled, seemed like he was just on edge. When he arrived in Memphis, he called his friend and informed him he wanted to hang out. They hung out a little bit that night, but immediately got into an argument with Cheryl. Cheryl was screaming on the phone saying, you know, you need to come back here now. And so the friend that he was with dropped him off at Cheryl's home. And that was the last time that he saw Lorenzen Wright. Stay tuned for part 3.